Question 1. In California, if a property is sold with an undisclosed easement, what legal actions can the buyer pursue post-purchase? A. File a lawsuit for breach of contract. B. Request a reduction in the purchase price. C. Seek damages for misrepresentation. D. None, as easements do not need to be disclosed. Answer: C. Seek damages for misrepresentation. Explanation: if an easement is not disclosed during a property sale in California, the buyer may seek damages for misrepresentation, as non-disclosure of such a significant matter can be seen as misleading the buyer about the property's condition. Question 2. How does the California Civil Code define a transferable development right in urban real estate? A. Right to transfer property ownership without restrictions. B. Right to build on another property as compensation for land use restrictions. C. Right to sell property at a higher market value due to zoning changes. D. Right to transfer ownership of a property along with its rental income. Answer: B. Right to build on another property as compensation for land use restrictions. Explanation: a transferable development right in urban real estate typically allows property owners to build on another property as compensation for land use restrictions imposed on their original property. Question 3. When a property in California is in probate, what unique considerations must a potential buyer take into account? A. The property's market value might be lower than usual. B. The sale process may be more time-consuming and complex. C. The property can be purchased without a title search. D. There are no unique considerations in probate sales. Answer: B. The sale process may be more time-consuming and complex. Explanation: when buying a property in probate in California, the buyer must be prepared for a potentially more time-consuming and complex sale process, as the probate court oversees the sale and approval is required. Question 4. Describe a scenario where a deed in lieu of foreclosure might be used in California and its implications for the borrower. A. When the borrower can no longer make mortgage payments and wishes to avoid foreclosure. B. When the borrower refinances the mortgage to a lower interest rate. C. When the borrower sells the property to a third party. D. When the property value increases significantly. Answer: A. When the borrower can no longer make mortgage payments and wishes to avoid foreclosure. Explanation: a deed in lieu of foreclosure in California is often used when a borrower cannot make mortgage payments and chooses to hand over the property deed to the lender to avoid foreclosure proceedings. Question 5. What are the potential legal consequences for a California real estate agent who fails to disclose earthquake faults known to affect a property? A. Revocation of real estate license. B. Mandatory attendance at an ethics course. C. Financial compensation to the buyer. D. No consequences, as it is not required by law. Answer: C. Financial compensation to the buyer. Explanation: if a California real estate agent fails to disclose known earthquake faults affecting a property, they could be held liable for financial compensation to the buyer for withholding material information. Question 6. In California, how does the conversion of a property from leasehold to fee simple impact property rights and values? A. It decreases the property value due to increased restrictions. B. It has no impact on property rights or values. C. It increases the property value by giving full ownership rights. D. It changes the property to a rental model. Answer: C. It increases the property value by giving full ownership rights. Explanation: converting a property from leasehold to fee simple in California generally increases its value, as it grants the owner full ownership rights rather than just the right to use the land for a specific period. Question 7. What steps must a California homeowner take to legally convert a portion of their property into a short-term rental unit, considering local regulations? A. Obtain a special permit or license from local authorities. B. Pay additional property taxes for commercial use. C. No specific steps are required. D. Register the property as a commercial entity. Answer: A. Obtain a special permit or license from local authorities. Explanation: to legally convert a part of their property into a short-term rental unit in California, homeowners typically need to obtain a special permit or license from local authorities, complying with local zoning and housing regulations. Question 8. Describe the legal requirements for a California property listed as a heritage home and implications for renovations. A. No special requirements. Renovations can proceed as normal. B. Mandatory to maintain the original architectural style. C. Requirement to use specific construction materials. D. Approval from a heritage committee for any alterations. Answer: D. Approval from a heritage committee for any alterations. Explanation: when a property is listed as a heritage home in California, any renovations or alterations typically require approval from a heritage committee to ensure the preservation of its historical and architectural significance. Question 9. How does the Mills Act affect property taxes and maintenance obligations for historic properties in California? A. Reduces property taxes but imposes strict maintenance obligations. B. Increases property taxes and maintenance obligations. C. No impact on taxes, but reduces maintenance costs. D. Exempts properties from taxes and maintenance obligations. Answer: A. Reduces property taxes, but imposes strict maintenance obligations. Explanation: the Mills Act in California offers property tax reductions for owners of historic properties, but it also imposes specific maintenance and preservation obligations to ensure the property's historic character is preserved. Question 10. In California, when can a property be subject to a forced sale, and what protections exist for homeowners in such scenarios? A. When the homeowner defaults on mortgage payments. B. Only if the homeowner agrees to the sale. C. When the property is rezoned for commercial use. D. Forced sales do not occur in California. Answer: A. When the homeowner defaults on mortgage payments. Explanation: in California, a property can be subject to a forced sale, typically through foreclosure, when the homeowner defaults on mortgage payments. Protections for homeowners include the legal foreclosure process, which offers certain rights and notices. Question 11. What is the impact of California's Proposition 65 on real estate disclosures for commercial properties? A. Mandatory disclosure of any hazardous materials on the property. B. No impact, as Proposition 65 does not apply to real estate. C. Disclosure is only required for properties built before 1980. D. Prop 65 only applies to residential properties. Answer: A. Mandatory disclosure of any hazardous materials on the property. Explanation: California's Proposition 65 requires the mandatory disclosure of the presence of any hazardous materials or chemicals known to the state to cause cancer or reproductive toxicity in commercial properties. Question 12. How do air rights transactions work in densely populated areas of California, and what are the typical legal challenges involved? A. They are typically prohibited in densely populated areas. B. Air rights allow unrestricted construction above a certain height. C. They involve selling the space above a property, often leading to disputes over views and sunlight. D. Air rights transactions are simple and have no legal challenges. Answer: C. They involve selling the space above a property, often leading to disputes over views and sunlight. Explanation: in densely populated areas of California, air rights transactions involve selling or transferring the space above a property. This can lead to legal challenges, such as disputes over blocked views, sunlight, and zoning regulations. Question 13. Explain the process and legal implications of removing a property from a homeowners association, HOA. In California, A. It's a straightforward process requiring only a homeowner vote. B. Typically impossible once a property is part of an HOA. C. Requires a court order and agreement from the HOA. D. Can be done unilaterally by the property owner. Answer: B. Typically impossible once a property is part of an HOA. Explanation: removing a property from an HOA in California is typically very difficult, if not impossible. Once a property is part of an HOA, it is bound by the association's covenants, conditions, and restrictions, CC and Rs, and leaving the HOA is not a straightforward process. Question 14. In a real estate transaction, how does a cloud on title discovered during escrow affect the sale process in California? A. It accelerates the sale process. B. No effect. The sale can proceed as planned. C. It can delay or jeopardize the sale until the issue is resolved. D. The buyer must accept the title as is. Answer: C. It can delay or jeopardize the sale until the issue is resolved. Explanation: the discovery of a cloud on title during escrow in a California real estate transaction can delay or even jeopardize the sale. The issue must be resolved to ensure clear title before the sale can proceed. Question 15. What are the specific legal requirements for a dual agent in a California real estate transaction involving both the buyer and seller? A. No specific requirements. Dual agency is straightforward. B. Written consent from both parties and full disclosure. C. Dual agency is not permitted in California. D. Only verbal agreement is required. Answer: B. Written consent from both parties and full disclosure. Explanation: in California, a dual agent representing both the buyer and seller in a real estate transaction must obtain written consent from both parties and provide full disclosure of the dual agency relationship, including the potential conflicts of interest. Question 16. Describe the legal implications of selling a condominium conversion property in California. A. No legal implications, similar to selling any other property. B. Requires approval from the original condo association. C. Must comply with specific state and local regulations for conversions. D. The seller must provide a history of the property's use. Answer: C. Must comply with specific state and local regulations for conversions. Explanation: selling a condominium conversion property in California requires compliance with specific state and local regulations. These regulations address factors like tenant rights, building codes, and the conversion process itself. Question 17. What are the obligations of a California real estate agent in disclosing a property's vulnerability to wildfires? A. No obligation to disclose wildfire risks. B. Must disclose only if the property has previously experienced a wildfire. C. Obligated to disclose any known wildfire risks and hazards. D. Disclosure is only required during certain months of the year. Answer: C. Obligated to disclose any known wildfire risks and hazards. Explanation: in California, real estate agents have an obligation to disclose any known vulnerabilities or risks related to wildfires. This includes the property's history and location in relation to known wildfire hazard areas. Question 18. How does a life estate impact the sale of a property in California, particularly regarding the rights of the life tenant and remainderman? A. The life tenant has full rights to sell the property. B. Sale can only occur with the consent of the remainderman. C. The property cannot be sold until the life tenant's death. D. Sale proceeds are split between the life tenant and remainderman. Answer: B. Sale can only occur with the consent of the remainderman. Explanation: in a life estate scenario in California, the life tenant has the right to use the property during their lifetime, but the sale of the property typically requires the consent of the remainderman, who will inherit the property upon the life tenant's death. Question 19. In California, what legal challenges can arise from the discovery of an unpermitted addition to a property during a sale transaction? A. The buyer must accept the addition as is. B. Possible requirement to bring the addition up to code or remove it. C. No challenges. Unpermitted additions are common. D. Increased property value due to the additional space. Answer. B. Possible requirement to bring the addition up to code or remove it. Explanation. Discovering an unpermitted addition during a property sale in California can pose legal challenges. The addition may need to be brought up to current building codes or removed, and there could be implications for property taxes and insurance. Question 20. Explain the significance of Coastal Commission approval for real estate development near California's shoreline and the common hurdles encountered. A. Approval is not required for coastal development. B. Coastal Commission approval is necessary to ensure compliance with environmental and public access regulations. C. Approval only affects properties directly on the beach. D. The Coastal Commission focuses solely on aesthetic aspects. Answer. B. Coastal Commission approval is necessary to ensure compliance with environmental and public access regulations. Explanation. For real estate development near California's shoreline, obtaining Coastal Commission approval is crucial. The Commission ensures compliance with state laws concerning environmental protection, public access, and land use. Developers often face hurdles related to these regulations. Question 21. A homeowner in California discovers an ancient Native American artifact on their property. What are their legal obligations regarding this discovery? A. They can keep or sell the artifact with no restrictions. B. Report the discovery to local authorities or the Native American Heritage Commission. C. Immediately cease any further land development. D. Donate the artifact to a local museum. Answer. B. Report the discovery to local authorities or the Native American Heritage Commission. Explanation. In California, if a homeowner discovers an ancient Native American artifact on their property, they are legally obligated to report the discovery to local authorities or the Native American Heritage Commission. This is to ensure proper handling and preservation of cultural heritage. Question 22. Explain the legal consequences in California if a real estate agent fails to disclose a property's history of severe environmental contamination. A. The agent may face legal penalties and liability for damages. B. No consequences, as environmental contamination is not a required disclosure. C. The agent is required to pay for property cleanup. D. The agent receives a warning but no legal penalties. Answer. A. The agent may face legal penalties and liability for damages. Explanation. In California, if a real estate agent fails to disclose a property's history of severe environmental contamination, they can face legal penalties and be held liable for damages. Full disclosure of environmental hazards is a legal requirement in real estate transactions. Question 23. How does California's Proposition 13 affect real estate transactions concerning the reassessment of property taxes? A. It limits the annual increase in property taxes. B. It eliminates property taxes for senior citizens. C. It reassesses property taxes at current market value annually. D. Prop 13 only affects commercial properties. Answer. A. It limits the annual increase in property taxes. Explanation. California's Proposition 13 significantly impacts real estate transactions as it limits the annual increase in property taxes, capping it at a certain percentage unless the property is sold or undergoes new construction. Question 24. In California, what legal steps must a landlord follow to evict a tenant for non-payment of rent in a rent-controlled jurisdiction? A. Immediate eviction without notice. B. Provide a written notice and opportunity to pay or vacate. C. Obtain a court order without notifying the tenant. D. Eviction is not allowed for non-payment in rent-controlled areas. Answer: B. Provide a written notice and opportunity to pay or vacate. Explanation: in a rent-controlled jurisdiction in California, a landlord must provide the tenant with a written notice and a specified period to pay the overdue rent or vacate the property before proceeding with eviction steps. Question 25. Describe the impact of a conservation easement on a California property owner's development rights. A. It removes all development rights from the property owner. B. Allows unrestricted development to promote conservation. C. Limits or restricts development to protect natural or historic resources. D. Only affects properties in rural areas. Answer: C. Limits or restricts development to protect natural or historic resources. Explanation: a conservation easement in California typically limits or restricts development on a property to protect natural or historic resources. It can significantly impact a property owner's development rights, preserving the land in its natural state. Question 26. How does the discovery of a cloud on title during a title search affect the purchase process of a property in California? A. The sale must be canceled. B. The buyer can demand a lower price. C. It may delay or complicate the sale until resolved. D. No impact, as cloud on title issues are common. Answer: C. It may delay or complicate the sale until resolved. Explanation: discovering a cloud on title during a title search in California can delay or complicate the purchase process. Resolving these issues is crucial to ensure clear and marketable title before the property can be transferred. Question 27. Scenario: a buyer in California is interested in a property, but learns it's under a Mello-Roos district. What implications does this have for the buyer? A. Lower property taxes. B. Additional taxes for specific community improvements. C. No implications, as Mello-Roos does not affect buyers. D. Automatic enrollment in the Homeowners Association. Answer: B. Additional taxes for specific community improvements. Explanation: if a property is in a Mello-Roos district in California, the buyer should be aware that they will be subject to additional taxes used to finance specific community improvements, such as schools, parks, and infrastructure. Question 28. What are the key legal considerations for a California real estate professional when handling a property that has been a crime scene? A. No disclosure is required for past crimes. B. Mandatory disclosure of all past crimes, regardless of severity. C. Disclosure is required only for certain types of crimes. D. Disclosure of crimes is only necessary if it occurred within the last year. Answer: C. Disclosure is required only for certain types of crimes. Explanation: in California, a real estate professional handling a property that has been a crime scene must disclose certain types of crimes, particularly if they are material to the property's value or desirability, such as a murder. Question 29. Define capitalization rate, cap rate, in real estate investment and discuss its importance in evaluating a property in California. A. The rate at which a property increases in value annually. B. The percentage of tenants who renew their leases each year. C. A measure of a property's profitability and return on investment. D. The maximum allowable rent increase per year. Answer: C. A measure of a property's profitability and return on investment. Explanation: the capitalization rate, or cap rate, is a key metric in real estate investment, representing a property's profitability and return on investment. It is calculated by dividing the net operating income by the property's current market value. Question 30. Scenario: after purchasing a new home in California, a buyer discovers the backyard shed encroaches on the neighbor's property. What are the potential legal remedies? A. The buyer must immediately demolish the shed. B. Negotiate with the neighbor for an easement or property purchase. C. Seek compensation from the seller for misrepresentation. D. No remedies. The buyer must accept the encroachment. Answer. B. Negotiate with the neighbor for an easement or property purchase. Explanation. If a buyer in California discovers a property encroachment, such as a shed on a neighbor's land, potential legal remedies include negotiating with the neighbor for an easement or purchasing the encroached land. Seeking compensation from the seller is also an option. Question 31. Explain the purpose and process of a 1031 exchange in real estate and its potential benefits for California investors. A. A process to exchange investment properties for primary residences. B. An exchange of properties between family members without tax implications. C. A tax-deferred exchange of like-kind investment properties. D. A mandatory property swap enforced by the state. Answer. C. A tax-deferred exchange of like-kind investment properties. Explanation. A 1031 exchange in real estate allows investors in California to defer capital gains taxes by exchanging one investment property for another like-kind property. This process can significantly benefit investors by preserving capital and leveraging tax deferral. Question 32. What are the implications of selling a property with a life estate attached to it in a California real estate transaction? A. The life tenant retains the right to occupy the property until death. B. The property can only be sold after the life tenant's death. C. The life estate is automatically terminated upon sale. D. The buyer becomes the new life tenant. Answer. A. The life tenant retains the right to occupy the property until death. Explanation. When selling a property with a life estate in California, the life tenant retains the right to occupy the property for the duration of their life. The buyer acquires the remainder interest and will have full ownership only after the life tenant's death. Question 33. In California, how does the concept of community property affect the sale of a property during a divorce? A. Property is always sold and proceeds split equally. B. One spouse can claim full ownership. C. Property is divided based on each spouse's financial contribution. D. Property must be divided equally unless agreed otherwise. Answer. D. Property must be divided equally unless agreed otherwise. Explanation. In California, the concept of community property dictates that property acquired during marriage is owned equally by both spouses. During a divorce, such property must be divided equally unless the spouses agree to a different arrangement. Question 34. Describe the role of escrow in a California real estate transaction and its importance. A. It's a tax levied on the sale of the property. B. Acts as a neutral third party to handle funds and documents. C. Escrow is only used for commercial transactions. D. It's the process of inspecting the property before sale. Answer. B. Acts as a neutral third party to handle funds and documents. Explanation. In California real estate transactions, escrow plays a crucial role as a neutral third party responsible for securely holding funds and important documents until all conditions of the transaction are met. It ensures a smooth and secure transfer process. Question 35. Scenario. A property owner in California is facing foreclosure. Describe the foreclosure process and what options the owner might have to avoid it. A. Foreclosure is immediate without any options for the owner. B. The owner can negotiate a loan modification or short sale. C. The owner must vacate the property within 24 hours. D. Foreclosure only occurs if the owner agrees. Answer. B. The owner can negotiate a loan modification or short sale. Explanation. In California, The foreclosure process typically involves a notice of default and a period during which the owner can remedy the default. The owner has options to avoid foreclosure, such as negotiating a loan modification, arranging a short sale, or refinancing. Question 36. What legal implications and responsibilities exist for a real estate agent in California when representing both the buyer and seller in the same transaction? Dual agency. A. Dual agency is illegal in California. B. The agent must prioritize the seller's interests. C. Full disclosure to both parties and written consent. D. No specific implications or responsibilities. Answer: C. Full disclosure to both parties and written consent. Explanation: in California, when a real estate agent represents both the buyer and seller in the same transaction, dual agency, they have specific legal responsibilities. These include fully disclosing the dual agency to both parties and obtaining their written consent. Question 37. Explain the significance of zoning laws in real estate development in California. A. Zoning laws are only advisory and not legally binding. B. They dictate land use, building sizes, and types of permissible developments. C. Zoning laws apply only to commercial properties. D. They determine property tax rates. Answer: B. They dictate land use, building sizes, and types of permissible developments. Explanation: zoning laws in California play a critical role in real estate development. They regulate land use, determine the size and types of buildings that can be constructed, and specify the types of permissible developments in various areas. Question 38. A real estate investor is considering a property in a historic district of California. What additional considerations should they take into account? A. Historic properties are exempt from property taxes. B. There are no additional considerations for historic properties. C. Renovations and changes may be subject to strict preservation guidelines. D. Historic properties cannot be used for commercial purposes. Answer: C. Renovations and changes may be subject to strict preservation guidelines. Explanation: when considering a property in a historic district in California, an investor should be aware of additional considerations. Renovations and changes to the property may be subject to strict preservation guidelines to maintain the historical integrity of the district. Question 39. Define cap rate in real estate investment and its relevance in evaluating a rental property in California. A. The maximum rent that can be charged for a property. B. A measure of a property's potential return on investment. C. The rate at which property values increase annually. D. A cap on the amount of property tax increase. Answer: B. A measure of a property's potential return on investment. Explanation: the capitalization rate, or cap rate, is a crucial metric in real estate investment, particularly in evaluating a rental property in California. It measures the potential return on investment and is calculated by dividing the net operating income by the property's current market value. Question 40. How does the Americans with Disabilities Act, ADA, impact real estate properties in California? A. ADA has no impact on real estate properties. B. Requires all properties to be fully accessible, regardless of use. C. Mandates accessibility accommodations in public and commercial buildings. D. Only applies to new construction. Answer: C. Mandates accessibility accommodations in public and commercial buildings. Explanation: the Americans with Disabilities Act, ADA, significantly impacts real estate properties in California by mandating accessibility accommodations in public and commercial buildings. This includes providing access for individuals with disabilities and ensuring compliance with ADA standards. Question 41. What legal actions can a property owner in California take if their neighbor's new construction violates local zoning regulations? A. Seek a court injunction to halt construction. B. File a complaint with the California Coastal Commission. C. Demand immediate demolition of the structure. D. There are no legal actions available in such cases. Answer. A. Seek a court injunction to halt construction. Explanation. In California, if a property owner's neighbor violates local zoning regulations with new construction, the owner can seek a court injunction to halt the construction. They may also file a complaint with local zoning authorities to enforce compliance with zoning laws. Question 42. Define material fact in the context of a California real estate transaction. What kinds of information are considered material facts? A. Any fact about the property's aesthetic features. B. Information that could affect a buyer's decision to purchase. C. Only facts about the property's size and location. D. Information regarding the seller's financial situation. Answer. B. Information that could affect a buyer's decision to purchase. Explanation. In California real estate transactions, a material fact is any information that could significantly affect a buyer's decision to purchase or the value of the property. This includes facts about the property's condition, legal status, and other relevant aspects. Question 43. Scenario. A California property listed for sale is found to be in a designated flood zone. How does this designation affect the seller's disclosure obligations and the buyer's insurance requirements? A. The seller must disclose the flood zone status. The buyer may need additional insurance. B. No disclosure is required, and the buyer's insurance is unaffected. C. Only the buyer's insurance company needs to be informed. D. The property cannot be sold until it is removed from the flood zone. Answer. A. The seller must disclose the flood zone status. The buyer may need additional insurance. Explanation. In California, if a property is in a designated flood zone, the seller is legally obligated to disclose this information to potential buyers. The buyer, in turn, may need to obtain additional flood insurance, impacting their decision and insurance costs. Question 44. Explain the concept of easement appurtenant and provide an example of how it might be used in a California real estate scenario. A. A temporary right to use another's property, such as for construction. B. A permanent right tied to the property, such as a shared driveway. C. An easement for public utilities only. D. A personal easement that ends with property sale. Answer. B. A permanent right tied to the property, such as a shared driveway. Explanation. An easement appurtenant in California real estate is a permanent right tied to the land that benefits the easement holder, like the right to use a shared driveway. It is attached to the property and transfers with the property's sale. Question 45. A commercial property owner in California wants to lease their property. What are the key components that should be included in the lease agreement? A. Lease duration, property description, and tenant's personal information. B. Rental price, maintenance responsibilities, and renewal terms. C. Only the rental price and payment schedule. D. Lease duration and an option to purchase. Answer. B. Rental price, maintenance responsibilities, and renewal terms. Explanation. In a commercial lease agreement in California, essential components include the rental price, maintenance responsibilities, lease duration, renewal terms, and other conditions defining the rights and obligations of both the landlord and the tenant. Question 46. Describe the process of obtaining a conditional use permit in California and in what scenarios it might be required. A. It's required for all residential property sales. B. Obtained through a simple registration process for any construction. C. A permit for specific uses not generally allowed in a zoning area. D. Only required for commercial properties exceeding certain size limits. Answer. C. A permit for specific uses not generally allowed in a zoning area. Explanation. A conditional use permit in California is required for property uses that are not generally permitted by the zoning ordinance but may be allowed under certain conditions. Obtaining this permit involves an application, review by planning authorities, and sometimes a public hearing. Question 47. Scenario. A real estate agent is selling a home that was previously a crime scene in California. What are the disclosure requirements? A. No disclosure is required for past crimes. B. Mandatory disclosure of all past crimes, regardless of severity. C. Disclosure is required for certain crimes, especially if recent and severe. D. Only required to disclose if the crime occurred within the last month. Answer: C. Disclosure is required for certain crimes, especially if recent and severe. Explanation. In California, real estate agents are required to disclose if a property was a site of a crime, especially if it was recent and severe, as it may affect the property's desirability or value. However, not all past crimes need to be disclosed. Question 48. What is the homestead exemption in California, and what benefits does it offer homeowners? A. A reduction in property taxes for primary residences. B. Protection against forced sale by creditors. C. Exemption from all state property taxes. D. A grant for first-time homebuyers. Answer: B. Protection against forced sale by creditors. Explanation. The homestead exemption in California offers homeowners protection against forced sale of their home to satisfy certain types of debts. It provides a certain amount of equity protection, helping homeowners avoid losing their primary residence in case of financial distress. Question 49. Define transfer disclosure statement, TDES, in California real estate and explain its importance in property transactions. A. A document outlining the transfer tax rates. B. A mandatory disclosure form detailing the property's condition. C. A statement transferring property rights to the new owner. D. Only required for commercial property transfers. Answer: B. A mandatory disclosure form detailing the property's condition. Explanation. In California, a transfer disclosure statement, TDS, is a legally required document in property transactions where the seller must disclose the property's condition, including any known defects. It is crucial for informing the buyer about the state of the property. Question 50. In a California real estate transaction, what is the significance of an as-is clause in the purchase agreement? A. The property is sold without any warranties regarding its condition. B. The buyer cannot request any repairs or modifications. C. It indicates that the property will be delivered vacant. D. The seller guarantees the property's condition remains unchanged until closing. Answer: A. The property is sold without any warranties regarding its condition. Explanation. An as-is clause in a California real estate transaction means that the property is being sold in its current condition, with the seller not responsible for any repairs or defects. The buyer accepts the property with all existing issues, if any.